So now we have our sample crop plan open, and like we said before, if you don't have a copy of this, there's a link in the show notes below, and you can copy this into your Google Drive and start from there. If you do already have a copy, then just use your copy that you already saved in your Google Drive. In the top row, you'll see all of the various titles of information that we just covered in the slideshow before. So like crop, the seed, transplant out, grow time, variety, etc.
Take a look if you're new and just look at how much information we have going on in here and why this is important to keep track of. And this does not even include our flower plan or our herb plan. This is specifically vegetables, and it's quite a lot. We have a bunch of different types of onions right off the bat, a bunch of different types of lettuce, peppers, whatever. So we got to keep track of it somehow. And this, in our opinion, is the best way to do that, because if I tried to keep track of it in my head, I probably couldn't.
So the first thing I want to show you how to do is how to create filters and use filters. So if your plan is not already filtered, highlight the first row by clicking on the one to the side. Then there's a button here that has a triangle with a line below it. You can click there. Right now the filters have been removed. You can click on it again to reactivate the filters. So why are filters important? We want to look at our plans using the seed date to begin with. This is how we usually look at it. To start, you can also filter it by the transplant out date by clicking on the little triangle next to your title and then sort A to Z. So right now it's filtered by the transplant date.
This is really important, especially when we're planning our weekly plans during the season. Because very soon, once we start seeding, a couple weeks later, we're going to be seeding and transplanting. And this stuff informs what I have to do out in the field to prepare the beds, to prepare for things, to terminate cover crops, all different kinds of things. And we'll go over that in a different video. But this is kind of why would you want to sort like this? Because we have to see efficiently, week by week, what we have to do, and those kind of things inform things down the line, 2 weeks, even a month out. Let's remember what the goal of the CSA is. 20 weeks of produce, 5 to 12 items per week for each customer. So we need to design a plan that can fulfill those promises to the best of our ability. We can't account for extreme weather or things like that, and that's part of the partnership of the CSA. The customer is assuming some of that risk, but they're not assuming the risk of poor execution or bad planning. So this is our attempt at mitigating that risk on our end. So what we need to do what we're going to do is look at how we've put this sample spreadsheet together to give you a baseline CSA experience that should be able to meet those goals.
So when we're talking about the CSA, we want to have product throughout the season. So let's think about something like carrots. We want to have them in multiple weeks throughout the season and have a successional planting of them. So to look at our carrots, for example, I'm going to click on the filter for crop, clear everything, and type in carrot to only look at our successional planting of carrots.
So like Anne was saying, our goal is to have successions of carrots throughout the whole length of the summer and into the fall. They're a long crop to grow, and what you need to do if you're going to be picking varieties, these are just kind of sample varieties right here. They're a good start. Bolero's a storage carrot, but right off the top of the bat, I know that the grow time is wrong. The days to maturity are wrong. So we're going to go over to our Johnny Seed Catalog or High Mowing and look exactly down here to the growing information, or over here, and days to maturity is 75. If you click actually on the growing information, you should go through this for everything that you're planting, because each variety might be a little bit different than others. and Johnny's is a really great resource. It gives you so much information. And if we can go back to the crop plan, we can update that. So we're looking at this. Our first seed date is 4/1, and it's 75 days. We might be wanting to adjust that so we can get we'll have to do the math, grow time from the seed date, so we can get harvest each month.
Here's how we do the math to get that, to show those dates. We'll click on column E, which is our variety, right click and insert column to the left. You can do this on your sample plan. I'm going to type in the title as approximate harvest date. From here, we can put a calculation into each of these boxes that will tell us what that date is. So we'll click the equal sign, then click on the first transplant out date, because our days to maturity happen from that transplant out date, then plus the grow time, and click enter. And there you'll have the approximate harvest date. So to copy this down, we'll click on that blue box in the corner, hold and pull. Now this will show us what the approximate harvest dates are for each of those carrot plantings. And we can take a look at how it fits into session and how we want our CSA to look each week.
Yeah, and just to keep going with that, Bolero is a great storage carrot. Starburst is a little bit, it's a multicolored carrot, shorter grow time. So there are many other varieties of carrots. We've picked ones with shorter grow times. They're shorter carrots, just to get an earlier harvest, so we don't have to seed directly on 4/1. Things like that. You're gonna have to go through and look at what varieties you'll want. And but this is just a baseline test. Like, we used this as our first year. We kept it simple, but now we're increasing our varieties. We know what kind of doesn't do well. We want to see and test other things that might do well. So we've designed our plan just like Anne did, to try to have, carrots each month.
Let's take a look at another variety that we use as a successional planting, which is lettuce. So we'll unfilter the crop by clicking on that little button in the bottom there. Click clear and then type in lettuce. Let's look at both fall and spring. So we've designed our plan for this year to have lettuce throughout the entire season, but in this template we have given you the spring and fall plantings. So you can add in summer plantings. Just if you're adding in summer plantings, make sure you pick lettuce that is heat tolerant, because this is another thing we've learned over the past few years, is that some lettuces do not do well in the heat.
Actually, most lettuce doesn't do well, especially these are Salanova lettuce varieties, which means they come back when you cut, but a lot of people use intense irrigation or white plastic to plant their lettuce in the summer, because the white plastic kind of keeps it a little bit cooler and moisture in the ground. But lettuce heads tend to do a little bit better in the early summer. But if you're expecting to grow lettuce when it's 95 degrees out, it might not even germinate. It's technically a cool season crop.
Which is why we have it in just the spring and fall in this plan. So let's calculate the harvest date for these guys. So again, we'll click into the approximate harvest date box, type in equals, it's a plus sign, equals, click on your transplant out date, plus the grow time, click enter, and there you have the approximate harvest date. We'll copy that all the way down, and we can look at what our successional planting will be.
But once again, make sure to go to your catalog and check the actual grow times. This is probably fairly accurate. for the Salanova 50 days. But you really need, if you're going to take this seriously, you have to do the due diligence and fill it out accurately. I mean, we've put a pretty good sample, but we really want to encourage you to work with this plan and make it your own. It's a good starting point, but you're gonna have to alter a lot of it because it's all 100-foot beds. We don't really know how big your field is going to be. We're going to provide resources on how to define your fields and things like that, but there's going to be a lot of work. It's very complicated, and so we have to go step by step, but getting a good baseline with this plan should give you the tools you need to visualize your space and your season.